Will Iran strike Israel? Iran just issued a bone-chilling warning. If Israel strikes, Tehran will decimate Israel's energy infrastructure, power plants, refineries, and gas fields, gone in an instant. Israel, backed by its Western patrons, thinks it can continue its aggression without facing the consequences. But Iran is done playing defense, and the response will be nothing short of catastrophic for Israel if the red lines are crossed. Is the West prepared to watch as its strongest ally in the region faces an unprecedented energy crisis? Let's find out. Iran has warned Israel of attack, but is Israel's energy grid really this vulnerable? To answer the first and most crucial question, yes, Israel's energy grid is incredibly vulnerable. Ali Fadavi, the deputy commander of Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps IRGC, wasn't exaggerating when he said that Iran could destroy Israel's power plants, refineries, and gas fields in a single coordinated strike. Think about that for a moment. A nation that prides itself on being the tech powerhouse of the Middle East could be plunged into total darkness in mere hours. Iran has spent decades building a missile and drone arsenal designed specifically for asymmetric warfare. They aren't relying on outdated technology. Iran has precision-guided missiles, advanced drone capabilities, and the military infrastructure to carry out such a strike with devastating efficiency. A successful attack on Israel's energy infrastructure wouldn't just mean a temporary blackout, it would cripple the entire economy. Tel Aviv, Haifa, and other major cities rely on these resources, and disruption would lead to chaos on a national scale. Hospitals, businesses, and critical services would grind to a halt. More importantly, without electricity, Israel's military systems, such as its famous Iron Dome, would be left exposed. Israel's Achilles heel is its dependency on these energy sources. Its defense systems, while impressive, aren't designed to fend off an overwhelming assault targeting its infrastructure. One or two strikes might be absorbed, but a sustained barrage. Israel would be vulnerable like never before, and that's exactly what Iran is banking on. But that's not all. We must also consider Iran's history of successful military actions. In 2019, they downed a U.S. drone with a precision missile strike, proving their technological prowess. If Iran can outmaneuver the United States, why should Israel think it can come out unscathed? Apart from this currently, Iran also influences Gaza and Lebanon. And how does Iran do it? Here's a reminder to please like and share the video and subscribe to our channel to watch more videos on Africa's geopolitics, economy, and changing landscape. Let's continue now. Israel is already engaged on multiple fronts, Gaza to the southwest and Lebanon to the north. And here's where Iran's strategy shines. Tehran has brilliantly tied its fate to both conflicts. Iran's support for Hezbollah in Lebanon and Hamas in Gaza is no secret, but the West has repeatedly failed to understand the depth of this alliance. Let's dive into this. Hezbollah isn't just some local militia harassing Israel with sporadic rocket fire. It's a full-fledged military force, heavily backed by Iran, with thousands of fighters and advanced weaponry. Despite Israel's airstrikes and military operations, Hezbollah has continued to grow stronger, posing an ever-increasing threat. Meanwhile, Hamas, too, is no longer just a ragtag group of militants. Iran's financial and military backing has turned them into a formidable resistance movement, with the capability to wage sustained guerrilla warfare against Israel. Now, here's the kicker. Iran has made it clear that peace in Lebanon will never be achieved unless there's a ceasefire in Gaza. That's a masterstroke of strategy. While Israel tries to isolate each conflict, Iran ties them together, forcing Israel to stretch its military resources thin across multiple fronts. Every missile fired into Gaza reignites tensions in Lebanon and vice versa. It's a game of chess, and Iran is several moves ahead. The West, particularly the US, has pushed for ceasefires and peace negotiations in Lebanon, ignoring the ongoing atrocities in Gaza. But this half-baked approach only fuels the conflict. Hezbollah and Hamas are united in their resistance, and Iran has shown that it will back them both as long as Israel's aggression continues. And let's not forget that Israel has been targeting Iranian officials and assets for years, from assassinating nuclear scientists to bombing Iranian military positions in Syria. Iran's patience has worn thin, and its latest warning is Tehran drawing the line. Any further escalation by Israel will be met with overwhelming force on all fronts. Now let's confront a harsher reality. Is Israel truly prepared for a multi-front war? Can it handle attacks from Gaza, Lebanon, and potentially even direct strikes from Iran all at once? Israel has built its reputation on quick, decisive military victories. The Six-Day War, its daring raids on enemy territory, and its advanced air force all contribute to the image of a nation capable of overwhelming its enemies. But we're no longer living in the 20th century. The nature of warfare has changed, and so has the balance of power in the Middle East. Iran excels at asymmetric warfare, a type of combat where the weaker side uses unconventional tactics to wear down a stronger opponent. Iran's backing of Hezbollah and Hamas, its alliances with regional militias, and its missile and drone capabilities give it the ability to strike Israel on multiple fronts without ever sending Iranian soldiers into Israeli territory. What's more, this strategy forces Israel into a defensive posture, stretching its military resources thin. Take, for example, Hezbollah's capability. Thousands of rockets are pointed directly at Israel's northern border, and while Israel has invested heavily in air defense systems like the Iron Dome, even the best defense can be overwhelmed by sheer numbers. If Iran joins the fray with long-range missile strikes targeting Israel's infrastructure, how does Israel realistically defend itself from attacks on so many fronts? And then there's Gaza. Every airstrike Israel launches into the Palestinian territory fuels more resistance, drawing Hamas and other militant groups into an endless cycle of retaliation. The result? A war that Israel can't win outright, no matter how many bombs it drops. This brings us to a vital question. What does Iran's growing power mean for the West's influence in the Middle East? For decades, the West, particularly the US, has played puppet master in the region, propping up allies like Israel and orchestrating regime changes to secure its interests. But Iran's rise challenges this old order. No longer is Tehran content to be painted as the villain in Western narratives. With its alliances stretching across Lebanon, Gaza, Iraq, and Syria, Iran now holds the power to destabilize the region, and it knows it. The West, blinded by its outdated geopolitical strategies, continues to back Israel unconditionally, but the reality on the ground is changing. Iran's influence in the Middle East has become undeniable, and its ability to challenge Western-backed forces in Syria and Iraq has already shifted the balance of power. Meanwhile, U.S. attempts at diplomacy, such as pushing for a peace deal in Lebanon while turning a blind eye to Gaza, only expose the growing gap between Western narratives and the realities of the conflict. Iran's threat to Israel's energy infrastructure is not just a warning to Tel Aviv, it's a direct message to the West. Your dominance in the Middle East is over. Now the West has to come to Iran's terms. So, we arrive at the final question. Is this the end of Israel's unchallenged dominance in the region? Israel, once the undisputed military powerhouse of the Middle East, now faces challenges it hasn't seen in decades. Iran's bold threats to cripple Israel's energy infrastructure signal a new era, one where Tel Aviv can no longer rely solely on its military superiority to maintain its influence. Iran has demonstrated that it can, and will, hit Israel where it hurts, not just through proxy forces like Hezbollah and Hamas, but directly with precision missile strikes targeting Israel's most vulnerable infrastructure. This is a game changer. Iran has mastered the art of using asymmetric tactics to level the playing field, and Israel's traditional reliance on air superiority and ground invasions won't be enough to counter this new threat. The West, meanwhile, finds itself increasingly sidelined. As Iran continues to strengthen its regional alliances and develop more advanced military capabilities, the West's influence in the Middle East is eroding. The US and its allies are struggling to keep up with the shifting dynamics. Their old playbook, Propping up Israel as the unchallenged power in the region isn't working anymore. Iran's strategy is fundamentally different. It's not about direct military confrontation, but about leveraging influence and destabilizing Israel's most critical resources. If Iran follows through on its threats, Israel will be plunged into darkness, literally and figuratively. A modern nation with its energy grid taken out is crippled, vulnerable to further attacks, and left scrambling to rebuild its defenses while trying to maintain any semblance of order. The psychological impact alone could be devastating. Imagine Israel, known for its cutting-edge tech and advanced military, suddenly brought to its knees by a calculated, precise strike that eliminates its energy infrastructure. The illusion of invincibility would be shattered, and the region and the world would be forced to reconsider who holds the power in the Middle East. So now the real question remains: when the lights go out in Tel Aviv, will the West finally wake up to the reality that Iran isn't bluffing? Will the West continue to underestimate Iran's resolve, or will they try to find a solution? Let us know in the comments section what will happen if Iran's terms aren't accepted. Do you want to watch more videos like this one? If yes, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon next to it. We have decided to bring videos on something nobody talks about: African politics, the economy, and increasing power. Thanks for watching, and until the next video, stay tuned.
Tell us what you think in the comment section. Like and share the video, and subscribe so that you don't miss any of our African videos. It's the best way to support us.